Welcome to UBC Small Business. We're here at Baruch College for none other than the 10th annual World Trade Week International Awards Breakfast. It is hosted by the New York District Export Council and is presented by none other than Cone Resnick. We have a wonderful show for you, so you don't want to go anywhere. You want to keep it right here. We'll be right back.
Lee Zeldin, U.S. House of Representatives, representing District 1 on Long Island's East End. I'd also like to extend a welcome to Ken Hyatt, Deputy Undersecretary of the Department of Commerce, who came up here from Washington, D.C. to join us today. Thank you very much, Ken, for that. We are pleased to have the President and CEO of New York City & Co., Fred Dixon. Fred is doing a great job leading the city's tourism effort, and he will be our keynote speaker this morning. I'd like to welcome two of my favorite people, the co-chairs of this operation, Rick Larrabee, the Director of Port Commerce at the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, and Chuck Ludber, the Principal and Chief Marketing Officer at Cone Resnick. They are the co-chairs, and they have been co-chairs for a while. Their enthusiastic personal and financial commitment to this organization and this operation is significantly responsible for the way it is today, right? We've come a long way in 10 years, and these two gentlemen have done a heck of a job in moving us in a great direction. So thank you. I'd like to recognize our sponsors. Cone Resnick is our presenting sponsor. At the gold level, we have HSBC, back there someplace. The World Trade Association, the World Trade Centers Association, HAB Bank, and the International Customs Trade Bar Association are silver sponsors. Our media sponsors are the Journal of Commerce, Compass, the Global Business Advisor magazine, CoFace, UBC TV, and Market Expo New York. Let's give a round of applause to all our sponsors for their help and support. Oh yeah, I was told, I just, I get a script and a timer and I do what I'm told. You got postcards. We'd like you to write a nice thought on the postcard and put it up on the board outside. I know it sounds hokey, right? But it's the 10th year. Share some thoughts with us, right? Share some thoughts with us. World Trade Week has been able to grow and thrive over the past 10 years. Today, World Trade Week New York City supports the largest network of events in the region about international trade. A total of over 1,000 attendees participated in 2014. The network of partner organizations continues to grow each year. If you took a look at the program, you will see nearly 60 organizations listed. Most regions of the world are represented. I am proud to say that many have been part of building World Trade Week over this past decade. The number and range of events marketed under this brand also continues to grow. You can see some of the many events for 2015 listed in your program on page 4. Our 10-year success is evidence of the importance of international trade to the New York region. One of our achievements has been to highlight the connection between trade and transportation. We've also highlighted the importance of trades in goods and services to our regional economy. Tourism is an important example of the region's service exports. I am looking forward to our keynote speaker's remarks on the growth in international tourism in New York. If you turn to page 10 on your program, you will see a list of all our awardees since 2006. That list reflects the diverse range of companies and organizations that are involved in international trade in the New York region. We are delighted to have a number of the past awardees with us here this morning. Join me in giving them a big round of applause for their business success. They inspire us all to new heights. As you entered the event, you were greeted by many students that are volunteers that volunteered to help out today. They are attending local colleges such as Baruch, Fashion Institute of Technology, and PACE. They are studying international business and are here volunteering because they recognize that this is a great opportunity to network with and learn from very experienced professionals. That is you. Reach out to them and share your wisdom. A simple word of encouragement. Hello, how are you? What are you doing? Makes the world of difference when you're 20 years old and trying to figure out which way is up. So please take a moment to share your thoughts with us. Nurturing the next generation of international business leaders in global trade and logistics is crucial to the future of our region. So last year, we took some of our funds and provided scholarships to 2 students. Here in the New York region, we are very aware of how much global trade has done to create jobs and promote economic growth. Looking ahead, there are still issues to work on. We need to make investments as a region and as a nation in infrastructure and human capital. We need to work with other countries to secure a stable, free, and open trading system. As we pursue trading agreements with other nations, there will be arguments on both sides. I am reminded of the famous quote by FDR, the person who founded World Trade Week back in the 30s, when his speechwriter asked him whether an upcoming speech should be pro-free trade or anti-free trade. He responded that the speechwriter should just weave the two together. Something similar is happening today. I know that everyone here hopes for a positive outcome with the ongoing negotiations over the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. As experience has taught us, opening new markets is the best way to promote global prosperity, increase purchasing power here and abroad, and boost opportunities for American exporters. Before introducing the first speaker, I want to acknowledge the World Trade Week Steering Committee members for their work in making this project come to life. They have worked tirelessly with great determination. Many of the individuals on this committee have been on it for the entire 10-year run. Working together, they have produced a phenomenal result. They turned a relatively small, relatively unimportant event into, a decade later, a major event that is competitive with any World Trade Week in this country. So I am very, very proud to be associated with them, and I want to introduce them because they deserve a round of applause. Lucy Ambrosino from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Peter Bengston, New York Public Library, Science, Industry, and Business Library. Charles Duggan, New York District Export Council, Treasurer. Cynthia Duncan, U.S. Counsel for International Business. K.L. Fredericks, U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Service. Melissa Hill, U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Service. Bella Yule, World Trade Centers Association. Camilla Mamis, U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Service. Nancy Plager, Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. Joe Schoonmaker, New York District Export Council Chair. Rena Scull, Weissman Center for International Business, Baruch College, World Trade Week, New York City Chair. And Brian Willis, New York, New Jersey Foreign Freight Forwarders and Brokers Association. Thank you all, and everyone in this room thanks you for what you've done for us and for the city. It's now my pleasure to introduce Chuck Ludmer, co-chair of the World Trade Week and principal chief marketing officer of Cohen Resnick. His bio is in the program.
Good morning. And thank you, Terry. You do such a wonderful job, and this event wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for you at emceeing for the morning. On behalf of Cohen Resnick, I'm delighted to welcome you as co-chair of World Trade Week. This is our 7th year as a supporting sponsor and my 5th year as co-chair with Richard Larrabee. World Trade Week New York City is an important program. It plays a key role in educating small and mid-sized businesses about the opportunities and challenges in delivering and receiving goods and services from and throughout the world. I want to congratulate all of this year's award winners and know that you are representative of the fabric that keeps international commerce strong and vibrant. This year, World Trade Week has reached an important milestone. This is our 10th anniversary of World Trade New York City. I want to congratulate the organizing visionaries, including Nancy Plager of the Manhattan Chamber, Terry Martell of the Weissman Center, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. You have clearly made a difference in helping to promote and increase international trade to and from the greater New York metropolitan area. We look forward to many more events like this to come. Our firm is dedicated to helping and serving international business. Domestically, the firm has 25 offices throughout the United States and almost 3,000 professionals working to serve a broad and diverse client base. We are among the managing members of Nexia International, the 10th largest accounting, tax, and consulting network in the world. With combined revenues of $3 billion, the member firms serve from over 600 offices in 105 countries. As experienced business advisors, our goal is to guide our clients to do business around the globe with confidence, innovation, and proper regulatory compliance. Recently, we have seen significant uptick in our clients seeking new opportunities from the EU, Canada, South America, and Asia Pacific. Renewable energy, manufacturing, and technology continue to lead their way into these markets. Again, I want to congratulate World Trade Week New York City Committee for an outstanding job in developing this year's many programs. We are proud to support World Trade Week and encourage everyone to take full advantage of the many programs being offered. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the other co-chair, Rick Larrabee. His bio is in the program, and all of us have been here know Rick has been around this operation now for 2 days. And you have your jacket on.
I do.
and a green tie.
Thank you. Thanks, Terry. Good morning, everybody. I want to add my welcome to the 10th World Trade Week Awards Breakfast. This is, as we've heard already, quite an event. It's a sellout event. I see people sitting in the back row, despite the fact that it's a little warm in here, Terry. I also want to thank our sponsors, the New York District Export Council and Cohen Resnick, who you've just heard from. Terry deserves an awful lot of credit. Terry and his staff do a magnificent job, along with our committee, who you've heard from. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the award winners. I'm particularly pleased this morning that a couple of the award winners are folks that I work with every day, particularly the folks from Customs and Border Protection. Adele, thank you for being here this morning, and congratulations on your award. This is an organization that does tremendous work for us in the trade business. They don't get enough credit. And Adele is here with several of the people that we work with, an organization that means an awful lot to us. these days and will in the future. So for me, this is probably going to be my last awards breakfast. I'm going to retire this year, but it's been an honor for me to be co-chairing this with Chuck over the last couple of years, and I look forward to this morning's events. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the morning, Fred Dixon, President and CEO of New York City and Company. And he's going to speak about tourism in this great city of ours.
Thank you, Terry. Good morning, everyone. It is great to be here with you. I was last year, I think about 7 years ago, so it's great to see this program in its 10th year. So I want to congratulate everyone that's involved. Special thank you to Nancy and the team at the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to be here today. It's always a pleasure to work with her and her team. The Chamber, as you probably know, was a recipient of this breakfast Export Appreciation Award last year, and it's always a pleasure to be with them. It's also an honor to share the same stage with our good friend Ken Hyatt from the U.S. Department of Commerce. I want to thank him for all the great work that he and his team do for New York, as well as Congressman Zeldin and Rick from the Port Authority. Thank you all. The awards presented at this breakfast are an inspirational reminder that New York City is our nation's most vital international hub of economic activity. So it's most appropriate to be kicking off World Trade Week here in New York in its 10th year. And I'd like to offer my congratulations to the businesses and organizations that will be recognized this morning for their contributions to the growth of international trade and achievements in the global marketplace. In particular, it makes me very happy to congratulate two of our own members of NYC & Company for their contributions and for their award today, and that's Grayline New York and Elaine Kellogg, who is here today, a long-standing member of our organization and a good friend, as well as the Gotham Bar and Grill. They do terrific work, both of them. We all know the importance of international trade to New York. Many of us represent its impact, and without question, international trade is a major part of our city and our country's economic backbone, and of course, growing in importance every year. And today I'd like to talk specifically about the extraordinary impact international trade has when viewed through the lens of tourism, which some have called the world's largest peacetime industry. And this isn't a lens that we often look through, so it's exciting for us to talk about it. At NYC & Company, the city's official destination marketing organization, we are keenly aware that international trade and tourism indeed go hand in hand. After all, New York City is the #1 port of entry for international travel to the United States, and as a destination, we have more than 30% market share of all visitors traveling to the U.S. from overseas, and that's almost 3 times the number of our nearest domestic competitor. The services sector to which tourism belongs, and where international trade plays a vital role, makes up 2/3 of our country's economy. Its year-to-year robustness creates a foundation of economic strength, and its resilience and capacity for growth helps our country bounce back from economic challenges faster. According to the U.S. Travel Association, the exports of goods and services increased 26% from 2010 to 2014. But in that same time, travel exports increased by 31%, and the industry boasted a trade surplus in 2014. According to the New York State Comptroller, tourism-related employment declined less than any other industry's employment rates after the Great Recession, and was one of the fastest to rebound. Leisure and hospitality played a major role in our country, state, and city's ability to recover. Between 2007 and 2013, the industry created nearly 70,000 jobs in New York State alone. First, more trade, of course, means more people traveling for business. 1/5 of international visitors to New York City are here on business, and more international trade will increase the number of people who travel here for conferences, for meetings, and face-to-face interactions, and it will increase opportunities for new investment in our great city. A significant portion will return for business, and many, hopefully, if we all do our job right, will fall in love with this place and will return to visit time and time again with friends and family, and again for business. That first business trip ends up having an economic ripple effect that's great for New York City. But it's important to note that tourism doesn't just result from international trade. International tourism is, in fact, international trade itself. And I love to talk about tourism as an export industry. It reframes the idea of our industry for so many people. Instead of shipping goods overseas, as a service industry, we are selling an experience that international consumers come to us to purchase. That brings foreign money into the local market, fuels our local economy, creates jobs, and grows the tax base. And at NYC & Company, we make selling New York City and all of its incredibly diverse and unique experiences to international visitors one of our very top priorities. And there are good reasons for that. In 2014, international travelers made up 20% of all visitors to our city, but represented an astonishing 50% of the spending. That equaled $20 billion in direct spending and more than $30 billion in total economic impact last year across the 5 boroughs from international tourism alone. Let me see if I can do the clicker. Voila. We welcomed a record number of visitors last year as well. 56.4 million people in total came to New York City. Locally, the tourism industry now supports a record 360,000 jobs, which is an all-time high, and that number is growing. Visitor spending generated $3.7 billion in tax revenue for the city alone, or nearly 5% of the city's total budget. That money coming into our market from the outside, that's money coming into our market from the outside, and tourism is a great example of service as an export. And thanks to tourism, the average New Yorker in their city paid $1,740 less in taxes per year per household. And that is an impact that often goes unnoticed. So we see the very real, significant local impact of tourism. And that impact is being created by an ever-growing and diverse array of overseas markets. This is the part I get excited talking about. International tourism, in fact, growing in our city at a higher percentage than domestic tourism. Here you see our top feeder markets ranked by size. The UK and Canada have long been neck and neck at the top. That's probably no surprise, and they often switch back and forth in ranking. About 1.1 million people visited New York City from each of those markets last year. In the case of the UK, those 1.1 million tourists collectively spent $1.5 billion in our city last year. But take a look at Brazil, though. It has been a rising star the last few years, and their visitors represented an incredible $2.3 billion in spending. Many of you probably know about the high tariffs on goods imported into Brazil, which gives rise to their propensity for shopping in the United States, where the cost of goods is considerably less. And we think there's no better place to shop than right here in New York. Although the Brazilian inbound market is cooling a bit in line with their economy, it is still growing faster than the European markets and should continue to do so. China, the other rising star, to no one's surprise, is another interesting study. The Chinese are growing the fastest of all, 25% alone last year, and represent the same amount of spending as the Brazilians, but with far fewer visitors, for now. That's an important consideration, especially since we're expecting the number of visitors from China to reach 1 million in New York City by 2018. And it is entirely foreseeable that they could top this list in the coming years. Much of that growth potential will be fueled in part thanks to the federal government's recent expansion of Chinese visa validity from 1 to 10 years, making it easier for them to access the United States. Long story short, there will continue to be double-digit growth in the Chinese market year after year, and New York City is going to reap the benefits as their top U.S. destination, and it will be one of our primary target markets for many, many years to come. Here's another great example of how important international tourism is to our local economy. It takes the spending of 236 domestic visitors to support 1 hospitality job in New York City. It only takes the spending of 68 international visitors to support that same job. That's because international visitors, of course, stay longer and they spend more, so they will always be our top priority. So while they may walk a little slower than us on the sidewalk, and they stop in awkward places for those selfies, and I hope selfie sticks don't come here. I was just in Europe, and they were everywhere. But just remember, the next time you encounter one of our visitors abroad, think about all that international tourists represent to our city and help us thank them for choosing to visit New York, because there are so many places for them to visit in the world today. As I said earlier, we welcomed a record 56.4 million visitors to our city last year. And we announced recently, as you can see in this slide, that we are on the road to our next 10 million visitors by 2021. By then, we expect to welcome 67 million visitors annually. To reach that number, we expect to see slow and steady growth in both domestic and international visitation. On the domestic side, we welcome 44.2 million visitors to New York City in 2014. By 2021, we expect that number to increase by nearly 14% to 51 million. International tourism accounts for a little more than 20% of total visitation, as I mentioned earlier. We welcomed 12.2 million international tourists in 2014. You can see what sort of growth we can expect in this extraordinarily important market over the next 6 years. By 2021, international visitation is expected to grow to 16.4 million people. That's a nearly 26% increase in international tourism compared to the 14% growth projected from the domestic market. That growth, coupled with international tourists' higher spending, is going to have a major impact on our local economy. It's worth noting that we monitor global market and currency conditions every day when making these projections and are often asked about the effect of the strengthening dollar on tourism. While we do recognize the potential impact on individual spending while they're here, we don't expect the current situation to have an effect on visitor volume at the moment. International travelers in particular view travel as a right, and global travel is expected to see only robust growth in the coming years. And we are committed to making sure New York City continues to experience a growing share of that expanding market. And from a product perspective, it's worth noting that much of this new growth will be fueled by the incredible investments being made in new demand generators, like the One World Observatory opening later this month, and the spectacular new Whitney Museum, which opened last week. The Metropolitan Museum of Art announced the old Whitney building will be transformed into a new modern art wing of the Met and reopen as the Brower next year. New major developments on the North Shore of Staten Island will transform that area into a major tourist destination in 2016 and 2017 with the opening of the Empire Outlets and the New York Wheel, the largest observation wheel in the world. Combine that with the new enormous Hudson Yards development on the west side and another 120 hotel projects in the pipeline and on the way. And you will quickly see that New York City's offerings and tourism infrastructure are keeping pace with the very best cities in the world and will ensure we remain a top destination for years to come. And in summary, there has never been a better time for tourism in New York City and across the United States. And I don't think the industry has ever seen more support at the local, state, and national level than we are seeing today. And the proof is in the numbers. Ken's presence here today supports the fact that President Obama has shown unprecedented support for international trade and tourism, and we are thrilled to see that this administration understands the value of tourism as a vehicle for international trade and is giving it incredible support and the attention it deserves as a strategic economic pillar. I was delighted last month to join tourism leaders from across the country to represent our industry before top officials at the White House, and was thrilled that they recognized how essential tourism is as a facet of international trade to sustaining and stimulating our economy and creating jobs. Our unified message was clear to the White House. Tourism and international trade are part of our local economic backbone in New York and deserve to be supported and expanded at every opportunity. Doing so means the businesses and industries represented here today, ones that safeguard and constitute our city's economic foundation, will continue to survive and thrive. And I'm encouraged by efforts like the launch of Brand USA in 2010. The Obama administration recognized the incredible return on investment in destination marketing and the increasingly competitive nature of global tourism and established the United States' first ever global tourism marketing effort in Brand USA. The administration announced a nationwide goal: attract 100 million international tourists and $250 billion in spending annually by 2021. That means significant growth in our tourism economy, particularly for major ports like New York City. So thank you, Ken, and thank you, Mr. President, for that vision. And thank you all for your time and allowing me to share our story with you today about how international tourism in New York City and international trade go hand in hand. Congratulations once again to all the businesses that are about to be honored. Here's to growing international trade in all ways, whether in visitation, investment, or the exchange of goods and services for our 5 boroughs, our great city, our residents, and business community. Have a great week.